Thank you, William. Well, it gives me great pleasure as Secretary of State of Kansas to welcome the Freedom Jamboree to Kansas, and specifically to Kansas City, Kansas. I think this is a particularly appropriate place for this event to occur. At many times in our nation's history, Kansas has been the location where particular events that sparked great change took place. You will, of course, be familiar from your history with the Civil War. The first bloodshed was not at Fort Sumter, but it was in Bleeding, Kansas in 1857. And, of course, that led to great transformation, most notably the freeing of the slaves in this country. Again, the tinder that started the conflict here in Kansas. Fast forward about 30 years in American history, and you come to the populist movement. The populist movement was born in Kansas. The Populist Party in 1890 captured a majority in the Kansas legislature, something that didn't happen in most other states in the Midwest where populism was brewing. Kansas elected a populist governor named Lorenzo Llewellyn in 1890, as well as sending a U.S. senator to Washington by the name of Bill Peffer. All of this populist uprising in Kansas prompted William Allen White, the famous Emporia Gazette publisher, to write an editorial famously titled, "What's the Matter with Kansas?" Well, there was nothing the matter with Kansas in 1896, nor was there anything the matter with Kansas today. It just happens to be that this sort of Midwestern brand of common sense has been a place where many important things have begun in American history. And similarly, fast forwarding to the present day, the Tea Party has already had Chapter 1 of its impact on the American political system. That was, of course, the elections of 2010, which led to massive changes in Congress, massive changes in state legislatures, and swept in people like myself to various offices across the country. Well, Chapter 2 to the Tea Party comes in 2012, and we're already seeing that in terms of the presidential race, things are happening unusually late this year, aren't they? We don't have a well-defined presidential field. We don't have a presidential candidate who has clearly assumed the mantle of speaking for the Tea Party. All of these things can crystallize in Kansas City in September, October, in the fall months of 2011. And I think that's why you're going to see some important things happening at this festival. You're going to see people coming from all over the country. They're going to come to Kansas and speak for we the people, because ultimately that's what the populist movement was about, and that's what the Tea Party is about. There is a common thread, and that is we the people taking back their government. We the people taking control of their government. The villain, if you will, or the threat that the populists saw is a little bit different from what we have today. The populists saw distant capitalists aligning in corrupt alliances in Washington, D.C. Today we see distant statists in Washington, D.C. Expanding the power of the federal government beyond what the constitutional boundaries prescribe. And the only way that this can end, the only way that America can return to its constitutional foundations is if we the people stand up. The Supreme Court is there to guard the Constitution, but sometimes, unfortunately, they don't step in when they must. Or sometimes they step in the wrong direction. Ultimately, we the people are the ultimate owners of the U.S. Constitution, and that is what I expect to see happening in this fall on this location at the Freedom Jamboree. You're going to see we the people from all over America coming to Kansas and making a very big statement in the 2012 presidential cycle, and I'm excited about it, and I want to welcome the Freedom Jamboree to the great state of Kansas. Huzzah!
And he's going to have to leave, but I'd like to also recognize, while she's here, State Representative Terry Lewis Gregory, who was also instrumental, very instrumental, in helping us to be able to locate a suitable venue. And I'll just give her a chance to say a few words.
Well, we're excited to be hosting the nation in Kansas. Very arguably, the Civil War actually started in Kansas. Not very far from here is the battleground of Blackjack. And in June 2nd of 1856 is where John Brown took a stand. And it was the desire for free staters to be in control of Kansas that started that battle. And we still have that battle that we want to be a free state. We want to be free of government oppression. And so we are very happy to have the nation come here to our beautiful state of Kansas.
Our next presenter is Tom Trento with the United West. He's an educational activism organization, at the head of an educational activism organization dealing with national security, terrorism issues related to Iran, Sharia Islam, Israel, and U.S. border problems. Mr. Trento speaks throughout America and parts of Europe and will be providing direction for the Tea Party's integration of an expanded and integrated national security platform. Mr. Trento holds a degree in law enforcement, theology, and philosophy.
Thank you, William. And William promised that if I got involved, which I want to, I will get one of those uniforms too. So I'm waiting for that moment. But any movement has an infancy stage and then a maturation stage. The Tea Party movement historically over the past couple of years has dealt with the bread and butter issues. Limited government, limited or no taxes, limited spending, and some of the key leaders are recognizing the importance of dealing with issues that the President of the United States will have to deal with, and federal and state elected officials, that is, internal and external security, national security. And sadly, the piece of this day right here is quickly erupted by a look at any newspaper, any TV, any radio to see the global chaos existing. My role will be to help advise and direct and provide educational material for an integrated national security policy for the Tea Party to stand firmly on. I am involved with leading people in the United States of America on the issue of Islamic terrorism, which is one of the most critical threats. And we've put together a book called Sharia, The Threat to America. And we're going to bring the assets of the intelligence community, the military community, former retired folks, and law enforcement to assist the Tea Party in understanding how to do this. But just a few points. I've provided for the press a written detailed statement. Just going to summarize it quickly here. There are several security dangers, which include the threat from Iran, the thermonuclear threat, which will destabilize not just the Middle East, but as you see, will cause gas prices to increase at home. This whole instability in the Middle East right now is because of an axis of jihad. Get that term down, an axis of jihad, which is Iran, Al-Qaeda, and the Muslim Brotherhood. These three entities, though there's disagreement maybe on a tactical level, on a strategic level, Iran, Al-Qaeda, and the Muslim Brotherhood have the objective of the destruction of the West, destruction of the state of Israel. Go from Tehran to Caracas with individuals on there. Then they go through South America, up through Central America, to the cartels. The cartels are charging $25,000 per head. That's $15,000 more than just taking anyone across the border. $25,000 to take someone from Hamas or Hezbollah into the United States to establish cells that will explode given the order from Iran. And that's a fact, and we have to stop that for our security. That's why we're here today. Thank you very much for you.
Thank you. Freedom Jamboree is the National Tea Party event of 2011. We're not going back to D.C. this year. We're coming here to KC. And it takes us to round 2 in our struggle to restore this nation's constitutional principles, which continue to be ignored by our elected officials in D.C. In round 1, we took the House and many state legislatures as a result of our struggle. Round 2 has already begun with the holding the line on the national debt ceiling, which we addressed last week in D.C. at the National Press Club. And that was the central focus in our efforts to win this round early in 2011 with a big government knockout as we keep the pressure on the House of Representatives to stand firm against more debt and more spending. Freedom Jamboree seeks to educate and inform the Tea Party nationally about this issue and to hold our elected officials accountable this fall right here. It's to be held in America's heartland, Kansas City, on September 28th through October 2nd at this Woodlands racetrack. The event will provide each Tea Party and 912 group with its own caucus area to rally and discuss national and state candidates, legislation, or issues important to their independent groups, while enjoying national entertainers, candidates, and speakers in a county fair tailgate party atmosphere, which is very grassroots. Freedom Jamboree is also focused on educating and activating the local Tea Party and 912 groups around the country for the Iowa caucuses that follow just a couple of months after. Our next speaker, the Pastor C.L. Bryant from the movie Runaway Slave. And Pastor C.L. Bryant is a Tea Party founding father. He's a member of the Red River Tea Party in Shreveport, Bossier Tea Party, and he'll correct me on whatever I say that's wrong here. He's, and I don't speak good French. Tea Party Patriots. He's been a fellow with Freedom Works. He's a former president of the NAACP in Garland, Texas, and a documentary producer. And as I said, a star in the new film, Runaway Slave. Phil.
Our friends here in the heartland of Kansas, Secretary of State Kobach, and to State Representative Gregory, we thank you for having us here. It's a great day in the United States of America because we're still a free country. God has blessed us once again to enjoy the blessings of liberty. The last 2 days of October, then the first 2 days of September, we will meet you here again in the heartland to stand up for what our forefathers have paid a heavy price for us, and that is American freedom. 50 delegates from 50 states, or delegates from all 50 states, will be here to meet you. This place, the Woodlands, on October 20th. We invite one and all to be here, to be with us, September 28th, and then October 1st and 2nd. Again, that's September 28th, and October 1st and 2nd. We invite you to be here with us for Freedom Jamboree. As Americans, it is important that we put our future first. American exceptionalism is a very important thing that is being lost, not only to us, but to our children. Our interest under this particular administration has varied all types and all facets. But we need him, and we need this administration, but particularly the American people, to turn their faces back toward home and back toward the interests of America first. The next president, we're sending this message that the next president of the United States, and we agree together that there must be a next president of the United States in 2012. But the next president of the United States, our nation, must be prepared to answer to the people of the United States. We must understand that the American people will not bow down to any earthly king, and we will only bow our knee to our Heavenly Father.
We want to send this message as well to the next president of the United States. We want them to answer to us as to why they must be compelled to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. And we send this message that if they do not stand with us, the people of the United States who love the Constitution and understand that it is the foundation of our nation's existence, if they cannot stand with us and defend it with us, then they must get their bags and get out of our state houses and get out of our federal houses.
That's right.
And so we will meet you here. We will meet you here on the 28th of September, and then the 1st and 2nd days of October. And we want to tell you the heartland is where this battle will begin.